Weird sciencey facts that boggle my mind. Mary, did you know that you're not that special, apparently? Oof, hopefully my Catholic grandmother doesn't see this one. Thanks to Charlotte the Stingray, virgin birth has gone viral. If you haven't heard, a female stingray at the North Carolina aquarium named Charlotte, because they're oh so clever, somehow managed to get pregnant despite not having any male stingrays to get pregnant with. And no, she didn't get boned by Bruce, and she's not gonna have little baby shark rays, as some of y'all seem to think. She got pregnant through a process called Parthenogenesis, which in Greek literally means virgin birth. And while this is the first time that this has ever been observed in Charlotte's species, it has been observed in up to 80 vertebrate species as well as plants and algae. And this type of asexual reproduction is different than others that we might be familiar with. There's hermaphroditic asexual reproduction, which occurs in some amphibians. In that case, the animal contains both male and female sex organs, in addition to those animals being able to switch to the gender that they need to be to mate with the mates that are available. They can occasionally just mate with themselves. And there's cloning asexual reproduction, which can be found often in single-celled organisms as well as like some things like jellyfish. And in those cases, the organism just makes an exact copy of itself. But in species that experience parthenogenesis, the organisms typically reproduce sexually with sperm and egg, and when they reproduce asexually, they do so with just an unfertilized egg, and they get all of their genetic material from their mother. When this occurs with vertebrates, it's most often with fish and reptiles, and it's probably most commonly observed in Komodo dragons. How does it happen? Well, a lonely female wants to start a family, but being a species that reproduces sexually, you typically need a man to donate half the genetic material. You know, with chromosomes, you get half from your mom in the egg, half from your dad in the sperm, they smush them all together, and boom, you got a you. Sometimes you're a strong, independent woman who just don't need no man. In that case, the female just doubles the amount of genetic material and gives them all the chromosomes they need, and it's all done without the dramatic race of mini Michael Phelps. Apparently, that's all it takes to get viable offspring. They can grow up to live normal lives, can reproduce sexually just the way that they're supposed to, and they never have to worry about buying a Father's Day gift. But if they got all their genetic material from their mom, they must be just exact clones of their mother, right? Wrong. In fact, when Komodo dragons go through this process, they often give birth to male offspring, and to be a clone of your mom, you can't have a penis. So how does that happen? If you remember from your biology classes, during sexual reproduction, you get a full set of chromosomes from both parents. Those chromosomes are just the instruction pamphlets on how to put all of those DNA pieces together like Lego set. All of those put together determine things like your hair color and your eye color and your blood type. For example, blood type. If you get an AB chromosome from your mom and an AA chromosome from your dad, those chromosomes could be put together with the B from your mom and the A from your dad, and you could be AB, or it could be the A from your mom and the A from your dad, and you could be an A blood type. But if your mom is doing this process via parthenogenesis, she's got the AB chromosomes for her AB blood type. That means that she's got the A chromosome and the B chromosome, and when she imparts those onto her offspring, they get one or the other. Meaning that some of her offspring will be A blood type and some of them will be B blood type. And that whole genetic selection process will happen through the entire process just like it would if it had two different parents with two sets of DNA. And since we have recessive genes that may not show up in a parent but can show up in an offspring, like two brunettes having a blonde child, those recessive genes can be passed along through this process as well. Now, obviously, this process isn't ideal because the offspring are still limited only to the genetic material the mother has, and you'd get some more variety if you mixed it up with a male. But when you're lacking any men with which to mingle, this could be the next best thing. And it's still better than other types of asexual reproduction that have no genetic diversity in the offspring whatsoever. But the story doesn't stop here because, well, it's possible for fish, lizards, and amphibians to do this. Until a couple years ago, it was thought to be impossible in mammals. See, there's chemical markers in mammalian chromosomes that let the egg know that mom has sourced some outside genetics before it'll implant itself in the uterine wall. But using CRISPR, mad scientists solved that problem a couple years ago and achieved perfectly viable parthenogenesis offspring in mice. While the mouse did grow up to be about 20% smaller than the control mice, he was still a completely viable mouse that could live and reproduce normally. This discovery will help scientists better understand how human reproduction works and could possibly help eradicate genetic diseases. And while they promise they won't use it in this way, it could also make for some really authentic nativity plays. Speaking of which, if they don't name one of those little baby stingrays Jesus, I'm gonna be pissed. And the fact that some mamas can materialize immaculate maternity minus the meddling of the almighty, well, that is pretty mind-boggling.